Hello there and welcome back to Painting with Martin. Today we're back with another painting tutorial, and we're taking a look at the Black Knight from Talisman, the board game. I mean, you may think Talisman, the board game, is a very old game, and it is. It goes back to the 80s and has even the first and second and third, and even the fifth edition, which is the latest one. This one is from the fourth edition, and a friend of mine lent me the game with quite a lot of the miniatures, and I'm going to do a painting series of how to paint some of these miniatures. Now, this is the Black Knight. I don't have the card art with me because he only gave me the miniatures, but I put a white screen here before me so you can actually see what it looks like. It looks like this, give you a little bit more visibility. It's a beautiful piece of art to just take a look at the miniature, and I'm going to show you how to paint it in some easy stages. Now, since I only have one of these ones, it may be that I will have to speed up the video slightly just to make sure that I get all the pieces covered in the amount of time that I have allotted for this video, which is approximately about 25 to 30 minutes. Now, it features mostly dark details, so I'm going to take some artistic freedom just to give it a little bit more highlights when it comes to the edges. Now, I'm going to paint the cape here in the darkest red possible, and for this one I've chosen to use a color called Pure Red from Warpaint's Fanatic, which is from Armor Painter. You can use Corn Red if you want to as well, if you have Citadel, and if you're using contrast color, I would recommend using Contrast Blood Angels Red for this one. But since I primed it in Mechanica Standard Grey from Citadel, maybe this was a poor choice, and maybe I should have primed it in white, but for the time being I think this one looked quite nice in this color. Now, you can of course prime it in a darker or lighter color of your choice as well. For the horse, I'm going to use a color called Rhinox Hide from Citadel, not just black, because it will turn it very, very dark. But I will use a darker metallic color using Leadbelcher for all the metallic parts, as well as for the straps of the horse. I'm going to use most likely something like Thondian Brown or Thondian Brown from Citadel as well, making sure that you get at least some differentiation in colors. So let's get started. I'm going to start with all the metallic parts straight away because they're quite a lot of the miniature, so make sure we can actually get in the wash afterwards with this one as well. Now, it has a base as well, and sometimes some of the colors will fall on the base. No problem, we're going to fix that later on. Now, I've also put this one in a red grass painting handle, which I recommend you getting, because if it stays like this with some putty, I really like this one. And there's a video when I do a review for this one as well. But without much ado, I'm going to start painting this one. I'm going to put this one aside for a moment. I'm going to go through the painting stages using Leadbelcher. Now, Leadbelcher is a fairly dark color, and I'm not recommending that you dilute it in any way, because it is a metallic color and I don't like to do that. So in this case, I'm just going to go through the painting stages for you. I'm just putting on some dark color here. If you think it's too thick in this aspect, in my case it might be a little bit too thick for my tasting. So I'm going to put a little bit contour of what I just said, a little bit of more water to it, because make sure it flows easier. And if you have some kind of Lamian medium, you can do that as well. Now I'm going to wash my brush, and let's see if this one turns out to be a bit easier. And if I make a mistake thinking that I shouldn't have placed this one here, then of course feel free to let me know. Turning it around, his armor chest plate. Can I make sure that here that I see that everything? Yes, and also we have his armor side piece here. Oh, sorry about that. Went a little bit off camera, so there you go. Such as like this, and let's see here now. Got the armor plating on the legs. I believe that we call them greaves, as well as his metallic armor on his feet. Turning it around, hopefully you can see this. I'm using a different setup for my camera because the war we just had here in Israel made sure that I couldn't really paint as much as I wanted to. That's why I've been filming mostly shorts videos, because the studio was not prepared to handle full set on painting videos. And hopefully with the ceasefire I can get back to painting and show you more things. And I apologize for that. And underside the armor here as well. Don't forget the underside here. The stirrups I'm not painting in any armor color, of course, but don't forget, of course, the helmet. The sword is not going to be painted in this color. Maybe it will. Yes, of course. Sorry, my mistake. I looked at the picture and thought it would be in a different color. It's kind of like a glowing color of like blue, so I thought I would maybe paint it all blue or something like that, but that will also be quite silly and not really what I wanted. So looking slightly better already, but we're not done yet. We also have his arms, like his arms and his shoulder pieces, as well as his other shoulder here, and kind of like a chest, like a ring over his arm as well as his glove. Now going over to the horse. Horse also has armor. Ah, there's a bird outside. Sorry about that. Horse has nice armor. And on the other side as well. Making sure I can see everything. A little bit on the front here as well, don't forget that. The good thing about using Mechanica Standard Grey is that it acts as a natural shadow when it comes to the armor. So if you miss something, instead of painting in white, it's not going to stand out as much. Now going through to the sword. And I do have a special plan for the sword as well. Painting it quite thinly here. Now, that's most of the time. I'm also going to paint the shield here, the spikes here, in this color. Make sure everything that is a metal, I'm painting it in one go. Not the arrow. Arrow I have a special plan for. But at the back of the armor, if you can reach it, that would be good as well. And also, we also have the armor here for the horse here, central piece, which I almost forgot. As such, like this. All right, looking quite okay already. And now, before I turn my attention to the horse, I'm going to paint the cape. And the cape is going to turn it a little bit more vibrant. I'm going to put this one aside for a moment over here. It's, I know, a little bit off camera. Maybe I'll put it over here so you can watch it. And I'm going to take my pure red from pure red acrylic paint that is a cool red. It actually says so over here for those of you who like color mixing and all that. I'm not very good at these things. I almost failed my art class at school when I was in high school, and I'm not very proud of that. But and back at the time they were into miniature painting or anything, so I wasn't really good, and I didn't really know what I was doing then. So here I am. It was a little bit too much water that I mixed it in with, so I'm going to turn in a little bit more paint here as well. A little bit of waste of the paint, but I have quite a bunch of this colour because I really like it. And also have another colour here called Resplendent Red that you can potentially use as well. And here I'm putting it over the cape in this fashion, like moving it downwards. And there's no risk here of painting over anything else here because it's a very large cape, and as such, doing it like this. And we are going to darken it a little bit more with some Caribou Crimson in a bit, making sure that it's not too bright on this character. And now when coming down to the details here, if you touch the base here like I'm doing, it's not a problem. We're going to fix it later too anyways. But coming back on the side here, we are going to trying to make sure that we get not too close to the shield. I'm painting over the shield. And because I painted this, primed it in grey, you may need 2 or 3 layers of paint for this colour, so that grey doesn't shine through as well. Take off my glasses, making sure that I can see everything, because I don't see very good on far distance, and also when it's very close with these glasses, I don't see very good on close distances as well. So probably need to change glasses once. At a later stage. But it's looking quite beautiful, as if I may say so already, compared to the miniature before. Putting this one in, and also in between here, as such. I'm using a size 2 brush for this one, Princeton brush. It's a regular synthetic one. If you have a Rosemary Newton brush, you can use that one too. Here I got a little bit of paint on his helmet, not a problem, we can fix that later. But now it's a little bit of the tricky part, and that is to get it underneath all the folds here. And I prefer actually to paint this section because I don't want to leave it with the grey plastic or the grey primer, because it is a part of the model I really like to cover as well. Here it's quite important not to get any colour on the shield as well. And it's a little bit difficult to see where it ends, but there is a fabric in the texture here that you can see where it is. So if you have this model, it actually covers part of the shield underneath. And also underneath here as well, you see it's covered quite a large part of the miniature. With a little bit of practice, you'll get the hang of it. And here, on the side here, I covered the armor here as well. I'm nudging it away with my finger, making sure that I get it on before it sticks. And I may be past that I will miss as well. Now it's time to go over with a second layer when the last one is dried. And I'm paying attention to, I'm not doing this with a the inner workings of the shield, unless I see that I missed the spot like I did here. And here as well, hopefully you can see it. And here as well, underneath here, I see that I missed a few spots while I'm already at it. If you cover some parts of the other part of the horse with red, it's not really much of an issue, because we're going to try and do some reflecting work with this model if I have the time for it. If I see it's taken too long, it's fine as it is. So this is what the cape looks like. Quite nice already. Now it's time for the horse. Now it's important to wash the paint really thoroughly, making sure that you have no paint left on the brush. So for the horse, I'm going to use a color called Rhinox Hide. You could actually use black if you want to. Let me go and check on the sorry about that for the camera. Let's see if it's actually. Yeah, it's going to be slightly either black or. Let me see if I can move this camera a little bit further. Sorry about that. Now I'm going to take Rhinox Hide because it's very dark. It's one of the darker colors in brown, and you can mix it with black if you want to, but in this case it's a very dark color, and I think it works really well for this horse. Starting with the legs and the hooves, not touching the hooves here, but I'm touching up over the legs, turning it around. Making sure the back side is completely finished before you move on to the rest of the part of the horse. Here I'm touching over the torso or the chest, or where you would. I'm not very good with animal parts, by the way, so if you think that I'm making a mistake in English, because even though it's not my first language is Swedish, so I'm not very good with animal parts at all. So and here I'm touching over the face as well. It is actually fairly important to get, yeah, I've got some extra paint on me, so using it on the back side. Mouth as well. It is quite important to get all the details of the horse quite well. Here I forgot one part of the arm here that I need to correct. Yeah, we're going over to underside of the horse's belly, I believe it's called. Taking care not to touch any of the armor pieces, but also getting in between here as well. The back of the horse, back of the hooves, or the lower part of the hooves. Between these clothing details, or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I'm touching up the tail here, but it's going to be painted black. So if you touch it over with this color, it's not a problem. You can fix it easier afterwards. The rump of the horse, I believe it's called. in between here you have some details of the horse. Hooves on the back. I'm using the paint neat here actually. I found that it was too liquid if I mixed it in with some water. It gave me a little bit less control. Can be a bit tricky to get all these parts done and ready. And one layer should be more than enough for this miniature. Looking quite okay already. Now I'm going to go over and paint the armor details one more time and see if I covered anything with other paints. It's a good idea to do that. So I'm going back to Leadbelcher before we go on to the next part. Leadbelcher over here for this armor part that I missed. Painting over the mistakes that I made with the Rhinox Hide. And any other details that I might miss as well, such as up here. And also on his armor here that I painted over with red. There's going to be some straps over here. I'm going to paint that in armor detail as well, like these ones. On the back of the horse as well. And I'm actually leaving the grey underneath here as well with these ones from the primer, which is actually acceptable in my case, I believe. So now also there's a strap here, using this one too, and I believe that should be quite fairly. Oh yeah, there you go, a little bit of strap here. So with this done mostly, we still have the horse's tail and some other linings around it, and I'm going to go back to this one right now after cleaning my brush and putting on my glasses. I can see what colors I have. I know it's going to be a little bit of a long video. Hopefully you'll be fine with this one. I'm going to go over to Glossy Black from Vallejo, which is I wanted to shine a little bit, so that's why I'm painting this one this color. And I'm going to start with this color, also painting it neat with the horse and the horse's tail, giving the impression of that the Black Knight is actually has more darker features. And that's also why I chose to paint the animal's skin in Rhinox Hide, so it's not entirely a dark figure with everything is black. Here I'm taking care not to touch the cape. I have to take off my glasses again, making sure that I get everything correct. Underneath here is also black, and when I started out painting the miniature set for Talisman, and that was my first one. Now I'm also using this one for the reins here, and for some of the straps here as well, using this color. And the thing around the mouth of the horse, I don't know what it's called. As well as some of the other straps here for the saddle. underneath here. And the stirrups, I'm also using this one for this color. Now I'm also using this one for the kind of like bands over here on the back of the let's see, left foot of the horse, left leg. And there's supposed to be some saddlebags here as well. I'm also going to paint this one in this color here, black. You can paint red if you want in these ones, but I prefer to put it in black just to give a little bit darker features of the horse, which is already fairly dark, and also on this side as well. Now we got the saddle. Oh yeah, here's some more details of the rein here. We forgot. We got the saddle, which is an important part of the miniature, as well as the tail kind of like thing here over here that we still haven't featured. Oh yeah, I forgot this one of the reins here, as well as this side and this side. There are many straps here on this model that is easy to forget when you paint it. We also haven't touched the shield yet, but we are going to, and the arrow, but we'll start the hooves as well on this one. So quite a few details left, but we're getting there. So first of all, we are going to go for the inner details of him over here. We are going to go for another brown color, and this time we're going to go for Thondian Brown from Citadel. A brown color, slightly lighter, but not too light. So here we have the saddle and the inner side of him over here, and that means I'm doing this one in this color to make sure they almost blend in together. So it's kind of like imagining that he's almost part of the horse. And I'm using some artistic freedom here because it's very hard to see in the card art of the miniature which one is which in this case. A saddle horn, I believe it's called. And this one is I'm also using for the hooves. I've been told that the hooves are slightly lighter than the rest of the horse, and that's why I'm choosing to use this color. But of course I could be wrong. I'm not much for equestrian details. Never served in any cavalry unit or anything like that, so I honestly don't really know these things very well. I really enjoy cavalry charges on movies and in movies and things like that, but I like playing cavalry when I'm playing computer games. But in terms of like painting miniatures and knowing the words, I've literally no idea. So there's that. We're also going to paint the inner shield with this color, making sure that it's made out of wood or something. And I'm going to go back to the card art in a second to see, making sure everything is fine. We'll see here what the shield is made of. Hopefully I won't bounce anything. Yeah. Looking fairly okay right now. Now we're coming up to 30 minutes, might go up to 40 minutes, hopefully not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use an artistic freedom using Moldy Wine, which is a war paint for the shield. Mixed in with a little bit of black. to darken it. In between here as well. And the rim of the shield. Top as well. Hopefully you can see that it didn't go off camera again. I'm going to use this one as well for the binding of the tail, the horse. As well as, and that's about it with this one. Turned out to be quite okay, good color mix. I didn't expect that. I'm not very good with mixing colors. So that arrow is not fired by this miniature. So to make sure that it's looking fairly well from the miniature, it's going to be a fairly bluish green color. So I'm going to turn it into Sotek green. Imagine that an elf or something like that fired it. And this one means it's going to stand out. And I'm only using this one for the arrows up here. Actually, I'll use it for all of it. And it's going to make it stand out quite well. Now with this one done, we got some details left, but this is a very basic way to do it. I'm going to show you how to make it look a little bit more like the card art, and what we're going to do next is we're going to darken it. But we're going to darken it with some wash, some shading, but we're not going to do it in a way like I normally would. So the first thing we're going to do is take the sword. And the sword is going to be darkened with a slightly bluish tint using Drakenhof Nightshade. To give it a good shake. And it gives it kind of like a bluish tint, very similar to the card art. As such, applying it neat. And if you want an even bluish darker tint, you can use like another like closer bluish one that I might use later on. Now I'm also going to use this one. I'm not going to use this one for the rest of the armor. I'm going to use a reddish tone for the armor. Normally I would just use Nuln Oil, but in this aspect I'm actually going to use Carabug Crimson for the armor to simulate a reddish effect from the armor, from the cape. This is reddish Carabug Crimson, and I'm going to apply it neat on top of the armor here. The top of the armor here, as such, and down here on the side here. Down here at the side, and also on the horse, all the armor. You can dilute it with a little bit of water if you think it's too strong. But I think it works quite well. I'm going to use this on the spikes of the shield as well as the shield itself. And now for and also for the cape. Now for the cape, I'm really soaking it in to darken it very much further. And if you like these kind of videos, tutorial videos from scratch, where not many things are missed, hopefully, please hit that subscribe button. And thank you very much to all of those who have subscribed to the channel so far as well. Now, you can apply a little bit of a tint on this one on the blackish details if you want to. And applying again another layer on the armor as well. Don't forget the helmet as well. Now I'm going to show you what it's like to put on a more bluish tint to the armor. In this case, for the sword, as per the card art. And this time I'm using Tyrian Blue, which is an even lighter shade of the blue Drakenhof Nightshade. Without painting the sword blue, and also painting the, his glove with this one as well. Also, you can do that on the shade of the arrow. And we're coming up to almost the close of the miniature. Now, obviously this one should have time to dry, and when it has time to dry, you can pick up some raised details using some silver from Vallejo for some of the raised details for the armor parts. So this one is a fairly liquid color. So I'm going to put it out over here on my palette. And if you want to, like for example, the tip of the sword or the pommel of the, like I said here, this part here, which I didn't paint, like you can do like this one. Make sure that the pommel really shines. And also you can use that on some of the edges here as well if you want to. Some of the edges of the spikes as such. Making sure that they really pop, so to say. And you can also use this on the tip of the sword if you want to, once it's like something like this. And also parts of the armor that you want to be extra like popping out. Using this one here on the kind of like studs here. And also here I'm using it a little bit more here on the armor. Is up here. And if you think it's too much, you can darken it with a little bit of null as well if you want to. Only small pieces of this one can really make the armor. Here I'm using it on the edge of the armor for the horse. Only on the edges. And I'm also using it on the edges of the miniature. You can use it here in between the folds here as well, leaving this one like this. Just a little bit. You can also dry brush it on top. I'm using it just a tiny bit, just to make sure that it has a slightly lighter tone. Here we have this one up here, where the sun is shining more, on top here. As such. Now we've got one tiny detail left, and it's quite an important one before we finish this miniature. You can base it in any way you like, of course, and that is, of course, to turn the eyes red of the horse and rider. So I'm going to use some pure red here as well, and this is makes it really, I think, really stand out, in my opinion. So here, the horse eyes will be red. not that great. And also, when this one dries, you can also turn it red as well. But this is what I'm going to leave this one as it is, just want it darker. This is what the Dark Knight, actually not the Dark Knight, what's it called? The Black Knight from Talisman, the board game, looks like. And there's a long tutorial, hopefully you stayed with me for a while. And this is what it looks like. It's quite hard to see when it's not that bright. I'll try to adjust the light next time. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time in the next video.